people are the most important capital in any organization. So hiring the right people is critically important. It starts with knowing exactly what you're looking for. So I often say, I can teach you to be a good teacher. It's harder to teach you to be a good person. So I really do look for good people. An author by the name of Patrick Lencioni talks about three characteristics of a team player. And these three characteristics are characteristics that I look for in regards to bringing people onto my team.
So, welcome to the podcast, listeners. Schools rise and fall on the strength of their people. At Buckeye Union High School, Principal Baiju Padmanabhan is proving that hiring isn't just about filling positions; it's about shaping a culture of growth. With a leadership that is focused on strong relationships, excellence in teaching, and student pride, he's helped build a community where both staff and students thrive equally. Today, we will be exploring his philosophy on recruiting, retaining, and empowering educators for success. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Very humbled to be here with you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
We are really excited to do this podcast with you. So, I think I'd like to understand a little about your journey before we could begin. So, what was it that originally pulled you into education, and was there a specific moment or a specific person that shaped your passion for student empowerment?
Sure. In short, it was my parents. So my parents were born and raised in India, and they both grew up in very small villages. So they ultimately shared with me early on that education is what opened the doors for them to eventually move to the United States to provide opportunities for their future children, which ended up being me and my brothers. So early on, the idea of education is critically important was instilled in me. And then my mom recently retired, but was a community college professor. So she used to come home, talk to me about her students, her experiences as a teacher. So, growing up, I would hear about those experiences, and the idea of becoming an educator began to jog through my brain. And I eventually took that leap.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and especially when your parents have been telling you that ever since you've been growing up, I think that has a huge impact on your career. So that is amazing. On to my next question. You've been in different roles, right? So how have those different school environments and roles shaped your leadership today?
Sure. So I'm newer to high school, and interestingly enough, I'm an elementary education major. So in college, you really have to find your niche, and not necessarily in college, but as you go through your career, you need to find what fits you best. So in college, I was an elementary education major, so I was doing internships in elementary schools and middle schools. And I quickly figured out I don't like tying shoelaces and wiping boogers and zipping up jackets. So elementary school was not necessarily my best fit. So I really led into working in middle school. So I spent several years in teaching middle school, being a middle school administrator and principal, both in a kindergarten through 8 setting, which is common here in Arizona, and then also in a traditional middle school setting, so a 6th through 8th grade setting. And then, like I said, I'm newer to high school. This is my first high school principalship, so I'm learning a lot each and every day. What I would say is shaping as a leader, I can think of incredible leaders that I've had the opportunity to learn from and grow from. And every single leader I've worked with has had things that I would like to take into my leadership, and then things that I might not. And I share that with my team as well. There are things you might say, hey, Biju does that. I really want to do that. And there are other things you're going to see me do, and you're okay, you really have to find your own leadership style in the experiences that you go through. So I've had the fortune to go through those opportunities myself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you told me that you're fairly new to the whole high school
Yes.
leadership. So I'd love to know how that has been for you, because we hear a lot of things about high school students being a little more difficult. So how has that experience been for you so far?
I love it. I don't think I will go back to the younger grades, to be
Okay.
honest with you. Um, I really enjoy the sense of school pride that takes place in a high school, the athletics, the activities, the band. You have some of that in middle school, but not to the level at a high school. And then I do enjoy working in regards to a bigger operation. We have more kids within a high school, and then additionally, I feel I can have more mature conversations with high schoolers in regards to their future and what they want to do with their life. Middle school, I could somewhat, but I think high schoolers are actually easier to work with than middle schoolers. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, that is amazing for us to know.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next segment that has to do with the topic for the day, that is hiring the right people. So,
Yes.
when you're selecting new educators, right, what qualities help you identify that someone will be a success in your school?
Yeah. I often say people are the most important capital in any organization. So hiring the right people is critically important. It starts with knowing exactly what you're looking for. So I often say, I can teach you to be a good teacher. It's harder to teach you to be a good person. So I really do look for good people. An author by the name of Patrick Lencioni talks about three characteristics of a team player. And these three characteristics are characteristics that I look for in regards to bringing people onto my team. So the first one is being hungry. So are they hardworking? Do they go above and beyond? The second one is humble.
Mm,
Do they act in a humble manner? Do they ask questions? Do they realize that no one knows everything? So we need to be comfortable with that.
mm,
And the third descriptor he uses is smart. And he's not talking about content knowledge or industrial knowledge. He's talking about emotional intelligence, being emotionally smart. So do they connect well with people? Can they read the room? Can they maneuver different situations? So when I'm looking to hire, those are three characteristics that I look for in people: hungry, humble, and emotionally smart. Um, the teaching piece is an added bonus. If you are an effective teacher, absolutely an effective bonus, but we can teach you those things. Those other characteristics we can teach, but they're much harder to teach.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think looking for good people is more important than looking for teachers because, as you very rightly pointed out, that is something that can be taught, but you cannot teach a person how to be a good person, right? So, yeah, that is incredible.
Exactly.
So, how do you attract these teachers, right, who genuinely believe in student centered learning and people who are actually good?
What I would say is most interviews are 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It's very hard to tell if someone is student centered within that short time frame.
Mm,
So, and I bring that up because often your best recruiters are your current employees who
mm,
understand the culture within your organization and your culture is student centered. Your employees understand that and they know friends or teachers in other districts that fit that mold within your organization, and they are able to be your mouthpiece. Hey, we have an opening. Would you be interested? So,
mm,
and they can speak to that person's characteristics more than a 30-minute or an hour interview. The other
mm,
piece is I really look to bring on as much as possible interns and student teachers from colleges.
mm,
It gives us an opportunity, not just myself, but also our teachers again, to get to know the college students, prospective employees of the future, and again, get to know them outside of the interview and exactly who they are as people on the ground. I had the fortune when I was a middle school principal to house, there's a program in Arizona called the Arizona Teacher Residency. Incredible program. We were fortunate enough to be a host site for that. So, again, I get to the opportunity to see the future educators teaching, how they interact on a daily basis, and really seeing whether they are student centered or not. So I believe it transcends the interview. You can maybe get a feel within the interview setting, and sometimes that may be all you have to go off of. But
mm.
if you have those additional data points, they're definitely helpful.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And with that, on to my next question. Your school is known for connection and school pride. So, what is the key practice that you've built to sort of build that culture in your school? Yeah.
Like I said, this is my first year here, but I absolutely love it here, and the history behind Buckeye Union High School. I tell you what, I learn something new about our community and our school every single day, and I'm just eating it up. This school has been around since 1921, so it was the original school within our district. So the history is rich. The pride is rich. The number of alumni, as you can imagine, since 1921, a
Yeah.
great deal of alumni who take pride in our school. Our team is looking to continue to grow and reinstill that pride within our schools. So um, some ways we're doing that is we're looking for opportunities to invite alumni back onto campus for different events so that they can bring that history back to our campus. We're looking to work on our campus aesthetics. Are there ways we can make our campus more pretty and more inviting? And then something we are starting that I'm super excited about is we are starting what we're calling the Hawk Hall of Honor. So our school currently doesn't have a Hall of Fame, which a lot of high schools have.
Yeah.
But we don't want our Hawk Hall of Honor just to be around athletics. We want it to be athletics, activities, those career-centered organizations we have within our school. So we're going to, in the next week or so, start accepting nominations, and then we'll have a committee meet in the spring, and then we'll be inducting the first a set of inductees into the Hawk Hall of Honor. So another way to um, really embrace the history of the school, the alumni of the school, and continue to build that sense of school pride.
And I think when your students will see, right, what their seniors have done, I think it will sort of instill some sort of pride and some sort of motivation in them. So is that also one of the goals that you're looking at when you're talking about this program?
You know, our seniors and our alumni in general go on to do incredible things, and it is important that we take the time to highlight that with our current students, like you said, to your point, but also to our community at large so that they can see, hey, incredible kids come out of Buckeye Union High School because they do.
Yeah, that is incredible. Okay,
Thank you.
so moving on to the next segment. What systems or practices do you have in place that support and retain strong educators?
So, a practice I've utilized previously is site-based onboarding. So, acclimating new employees to your site specifically. What you typically see in most district organizations is there is district-wide onboarding to talk about district systems, your benefits, those pieces as you are joining a new district. What I found was the missing piece was how do we get our new teachers most accustomed to our school specifically? Because while we are a part of the district, there may be intricacies within our school and our school system that our employees need to know about. So previously, that is something I've done. We've invited our new teachers back prior to the district orientation and started talking to them about our school specifically,
Hmm.
school protocols, what is expected within our school, so that they have a sense of understanding in regards to our school specifically. Another piece, as they get acclimated into the system, it's important you have an organizational structure within your school, meaning they need to know who to go to for what in regards to support, because inevitably they will need support as they go through their time. So understanding who do they go to for instruction, say they're having classroom management needs and they need support, who do they go to for that, and them clearly understanding who those people are. I've utilized team leaders and department chairs for that because oftentimes that collegial relationship that they have with a team leader um, is critical in regards to getting them the support immediately.
Hmm.
So the other piece I'd like to mention here is not all retention is good retention. And I say that because it's critical you have the most effective educators on your campus. And uh, you go to, I would, I would say the majority, if not all, of campuses anywhere, you will find educators that are not as effective as they need to be. So simply saying, and I can tell you, in my previous middle school principalship, we started with a retention rate of 66% my first year. By the time I left, we were at 92%.
Yeah.
That number is great to hear, but the important piece is, are you keeping the most effective people? And then are you growing the people that need to grow? So
Hmm.
um, retention is important, absolutely, that sense of consistency. But
Hmm.
within that model, you have to make sure you're keeping the right people and then growing the people that need to be grown.
So I think that very beautifully connects to my next question. So how do you focus on teacher development? Or like, you said that we need to help them grow. So is there any sort of professional development courses, or like how do you take care of that?
One of the first things that I do is set very clear expectations. I don't think it's fair to hold people accountable if they don't know what the expectation is up front. So that is myself and the admin team here. That's the very first thing we did at the start of the school year is, hey, here are these expectations. We just want to be clear and transparent with you. Another critical piece here is every school context is different. So when you talk about professional development, you really need to understand what the schools and staff's needs are, because the needs here at Buckeye Union High School in regards to professional development may vary from a school down the street. So really taking the time to understand those pieces and what the staff and the school and the students really need is critical with professional development. In regards to high expectations and trust, it's critical school leaders build relationships with their staff. Those difficult conversations that have to happen in regards to accountability when things do happen, those conversations become easier to have when you have rapport with the person and they know you truly care about them, and that changes the scope from which the conversation is taking place. Um, and then, as I previously mentioned, having effective teachers on your campus, it's important that a bar is set for instruction in the classroom. No matter what school you're at, the students within that school deserve the best possible instruction from their teacher, and having those high expectations for what takes place in the classroom are imperative.
Following up with that question, right, when we're talking about developing or growing teachers, burnout is also a very true phenomenon for like all teachers and like all leadership positions as well, right? So,
Yeah.
when we're talking about burnout and mental health, especially as a psychologist, I'm really keen to know this. How do you support your staff mentally when it comes to that?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
I'm talking about burnout, right? Burnout in teachers is very common. So how do you support yourself and your staff when it comes
Yeah.
to mental health and when they're facing burnout?
Absolutely. And that it's easy. There will always be something to do
Mhm.
in regards to your work. It's important that we take time to disconnect. So, in regards to from a leadership to your school, it's important not to be sending emails all hours of the night and on the weekends. Your staff deserves that time to truly disconnect and take care of their personal needs. Many of them have families. Take care of the families, spend time with their kids, their grandkids, their siblings, whoever it may be. That's critical. And then as a leader, it's important we model that as well. um, my family comes first, and
Yeah.
I vocalize that. And if someone comes to me with a family event or a family function and says, "Hey, Bijou, I need to go to this," there's no question. Family first. Your kids need you. At the end of the day, your kids will remember that, and then tomorrow will come as far as your occupation. So, really prioritizing that. So those are a couple ways.
Yeah, that is a wonderful way to look at it. And I think, when there's a perfect work-life balance, I think burnout is minimized in that case. So that is amazing. So you've spoken a lot about teachers. I want to talk a little about the students. So is there any method or like any way for students to provide feedback? And does that student feedback guide the staff in any way possible?
Some of the best teachers I've worked with, Shreya, have been educators that actually seek that feedback from their students, whether it be at the very end of the course or midway through the semester. They are asking the students, "Hey, what am I doing well? And
Yeah.
then what do I need to do differently to support your growth?" So I think that is super important. And what I've found with students is they will tell you what they think. Sometimes whether you ask them or not, they'll tell you what they think. And that's something I respect and appreciate about students.
Yeah.
Even from a leadership standpoint, I'll have students come and share things with me, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
In regards to teacher practice, um, that student feedback is important. And what I will say is trends in student feedback are super important. We'll hear a student say, "Oh, Mr. P's class is boring," for example. Okay, but if you're now hearing it from 5, 6, 7 students, there may be a trend there that may be worth investigating as an educator. Hey, do I need to make my class more engaging? Do my students find my instruction boring? So
Yeah.
that's just an example. But I truly do appreciate when students provide feedback, and some of the most effective educators I've seen them seek that out.
That's a great practice, I think. Yeah. So move on to the next segment, which is sort of a trending topic nowadays. That is AI and AI in education specifically. So I'd love to know your take on what do you think about AI that is entering education? Are you in support, or are you someone who's just not very fond of that?
I think it can be used as a great tool. And myself as a leader, I use it myself. And the one thing we can never get back in our life is time. And
Yeah.
what I've seen AI give me back, and from the teacher lens as well, give them back is time.
Yeah.
Whether that be drafting a parent email or a parent message in response, and then you craft it, providing students feedback on their writing, for example. Now, as an educator, AI can give you a starting point. It is important to embed that human element and look through what feedback AI is providing, because it might not make sense in the context or to that particular
Yeah.
student. But it is a great time saver. My wife is a teacher, so I can understand that teacher's perspective as well, and how AI can save that time. And then what that opens up is more time to be intentional in regards to connecting with families, connecting with students, and planning that more intentionally, and just opens up more time. So definitely AI is a tool to make things more effective in regards to processes. I think it's important we teach students how to effectively navigate it and use it.
Yeah.
Them understanding the importance in regards to intellectual property is a
Yeah.
crucial aspect, so they understand, hey, AI's idea, someone else's idea versus my authentic ideas. So there's definitely learning that needs to take place, but I see it being an incredible tool that can be leveraged now and in the future.
Hmm. So we know that students do use AI, right? Like that is a
Yeah.
truth, if teachers or educators want it or not. But when I'm talking about educators, right? So in your school specifically, are there any steps that you're taking to build AI readiness among the staffs and maybe even your students as well?
I'm very lucky. Our district office has been very forward thinking in regards to AI. So there's actually a platform that teachers utilize across our district, and there are trainings that are provided to teachers in regards to utilizing the platform. We've also been very intentional in regards to understanding OpenAI versus utilizing the platform. Our students also have intellectual property, so it's critical we're not plugging in student work into OpenAI sources, because now we're looking at that student's idea being on an OpenAI platform. So I've been really appreciative in regards to our district office and how forward thinking they have been.
So, are there any steps that you're taking for your students and your staff to become more AI ready?
I've been very lucky. Our district office has been very forward thinking in regards to AI and how we leverage that within our staff and our students. There is a district wide platform that we utilize, and our district office actually gives teachers the option to go through trainings in regards to that platform, so they're more well versed in regards to how most effectively utilize it. Something else I've really appreciated is our district office has been very intentional in regards to educating district wide around what open AI is and valuing student intellectual property. So the moment we plug in student intellectual property into an open AI source, we're looking at unleashing that into who knows what. So we utilize our approved platform because we know it is contained within the platform versus an open AI source. So I've really appreciated the intentionality that our district office has taken in regards to AI.
Yeah, that is incredible because I think a district-wide program helps a lot more better. So that is incredible. So those were all the questions that I had from my end. We have this little segment where we have the previous leader ask the question for the next leader. So the question that has come up for you is sort of related to this whole concept of AI. So how do you maintain the human connection in classrooms while integrating new technology, let's say AI, for example?
I think it's important to first acknowledge that technology and AI will never replace human connection. And as an educator, it's important to continue to emphasize that piece. So just because you have AI or some incredible tech does not take away that students should be talking to each other and learning how to have discourse with one another in the classroom. It shouldn't take away us as educators taking the time to build rapport with our students each and every day. So AI and technology are great tools, but they cannot and should not replace human connection with our students each and every day.
That is incredible. And I think I have especially learned a lot about, good hiring policy and not everyone needs to be retained. And, you need to retain mindfully something that I am taking away from this podcast. So, yeah, just thank you so much for sharing your perspective today. And yeah, I think I really enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.